Now, our first story looks at the real reason why the New Day exited WWE. Now, as we reported yesterday, Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods have mutually parted ways with WWE just months after renewing their contracts in September and October 2025. As surprising as that is, the real reason behind the decision is now becoming clear. According to Brian Alvarez, whose report was also backed by BodySlamNet and Fightful, the split stemmed from contract negotiations tied to TKO Group Holdings. The New Day were actually approached about restructuring their existing deals under the new TKO terms, but the proposed changes were ultimately declined. In the case of the New Day, it was their decision to leave based on what TKO was offering for a new deal. To be specific, New Day's deals were not up. They were asked to restructure to TKO deals. They didn't like the deals, so they were then granted their release. That clarification is key. This wasn't about the contracts running out, but a disagreement over new terms under the TKO structure. Now, as part of the exit, both performers are now expected to be under a 90-day non-compete clause. But doesn't it sound a little dodgy that TKO are now asking talent to restructure a contract that they only recently signed? A contract is a contract at the end of the day, isn't it? Why agree to the terms in the contract in the first place? And as we'll see next, this could lead to a very huge problem in WWE. However, attention is already turning towards their next move. According to PW Insider, there's a lot of excitement in AEW circles about the New Day coming into the company. There's a belief that the Young Bucks, after years of teasing it, and the teasers weren't subtle either, as the Young Bucks once had in their social media profile that they will meet the New Day in the ring. The Young Bucks even retweeted their 2019 Being the Elite AEW announcement saying, "Let's change the world." And you know exactly what that means, right? Yeah, AEW Fight Forever 2 will be coming out soon. No, of course not. This is definitely an indication that the dream match between the Young Bucks and the New Day will certainly happen. But this has actually created a huge problem within WWE, as a clearer pattern is now starting to show when it comes to WWE's recent roster moves, and it all points towards a business-driven shift under TKO Group Holdings. Earlier, Brian Alvarez mentioned that contract restructuring discussions were taking place with wrestlers, and now Tim V from Bodyslam.net has managed to add some more clarity. What's being reported is pretty straightforward. TKO is asking certain talent to restructure their deals, especially those who aren't heavily featured on TV or may have hit a creative wall. There's also a focus on older, long-tenured names who are on high-paying deals but are not being used consistently, which naturally puts them under more pressure in this situation. And Booker T even explained why veteran WWE wrestlers are often the first to be released, highlighting how experience alone doesn't guarantee job security. He pointed out that the wrestling industry is constantly evolving and roster discussions are largely influenced by current relevance and star power rather than longevity.
You know, not that I couldn't do anything with Aleister Black or anything like that. It's just that we got so many people to do stuff with. Especially right now, we got so many people coming up to do stuff with. You know, just the influx from NXT. And then you look at a guy like, and that's what guys got to understand is if you're not the mega star, the top five, you can have a problem, because one thing about guys that's been around for 10 plus years and they're not in that top five, and these young guys are coming in, who do you think they're going to be looking to remove? I remember the cuts because I felt like I was one of those guys that that was, selling tickets. I felt like I was one of those guys that was moving the needle. And the thing is, you may not have to move the needle too far. You just may have to slightly move the needle in order for the company to say, we know we making money with this guy.
We got a commodity here. Yeah.
According to Booker T, one of the main issues is a growing number of younger talents entering WWE. As new performers rise, companies must decide who offers the most value moving forward. And this often puts long-time wrestlers at risk, especially if they're not among the top performers. Simply put, it doesn't matter how long you've been in WWE, you're always at risk. Based on that criteria, opens the door to speculation around names like Sheamus, Shinsuke Nakamura, Big E, Bianca Belair, The Miz, and Natalya, not as confirmed cases, but as examples of talent who fit that general profile. And while all of this clearly ties back to budget decisions, it also brings up a bigger question: how is TKO actually doing financially, and are these moves really necessary? According to BJ Bethel of USA Today, the key factor here is labor cost control. Even though TKO is in a strong position with stock around $200 per share, they're still focusing on tightening margins. Talent costs are estimated between 10 to 16%, which is low compared to other sports leagues, but is higher than what TKO wants internally. This could even indicate that TKO are even looking at bigger wrestlers like Roman Reigns to restructure their deals. TKO Group Holdings is actively reviewing how much it's paying talent versus how much value they're getting in return,